6. For KTUI, I'm meteorologist Jim Rinaldi.
KTUI time is 10:05 and the current temperature is 57 degrees. I'm Sam Scott for KTUI.
Hey, good morning and welcome back. Here we are live at the White Mule Winery on the high plains of Gasconade County. 52 cloudy degrees here this morning, or 58 cloudy degrees here this morning. I only missed it by 6, Charlie.
Yeah, only by 6.
Not too bad. It was just a guesstimate, but we do have a lot of cloud today. I don't know that they're meaningful, but they are out there, and if they want to produce something, it's okay with us. We are in dire need, of course, for some rain. This last week was deer season, of course, and I kept my eyes open around, because if fire was to break out at this juncture, we had some pretty good wind last week too, so it wouldn't be good. But everybody appears to be careful at this juncture and watch what they're doing, because the tender is so dry in every situation, and we've lacked dew of any degree, which helps the plants to somewhat, but that we have been void of that also lately. But anyway, good to have you along here this morning on KTUI 1560 AM 94.1 FM, or possibly you're watching on Facebook Live. If so, welcome. And Charlie, it's good to have you here always, and still filling in for Grace, who is at home. I think she's recovered pretty much from the birth of Millie, but I think she ain't going to be back too much for a little bit yet, and that's good. But we're blessed to have Millie with us. I got to hold her this morning for a little bit. Something very, very, very precious about all the grandkids, but them first 2 or 3 months are just such a special time. They are so soft, and the girls are so adorable. It is just it's an easy thing to like for a grandpa, and becomes a soft place in grandpa's heart too. They can make that connection pretty quick, and I think they do. I think they kind of get it figured out.
Grandpa won't say no.
I don't know that I have that ability to a big degree. If there's something they really want or need, but grandpa still has to say, especially, I've seen Sawyer now, who is 2. I've seen her just in the last 10 days or week going through some really difficult changes, what I'm saying? I mean, she is no longer, the youngest of the family. She is no longer, the only one in her family. So it does, and it is making a difference, and she'll just work through it. And her attitude is, just it's wonderful, but it's also growing up, and that's all part of it. So it's all good. I wouldn't change a thing. So I have a couple observations before we get into our guest here this morning, whom I'm always gracious to have along with us. Jeannie Jenkins does a great job. We'll talk about what we did yesterday at the Spring Bluff School. But first of all, a few things of my observations this week. Things continue to go right along here in regard to politics, in regard to Jeff City, in regard to Washington, D.C., and in regard to the global situation. And, things are worth watching, I think, at this juncture. We have a culture that is changing in regard to how we view an awful lot of things, how we view politics. It's hard to find things that we agree upon, and that's not so bad, but how and what we do in our disagreements is extremely important. And I watched yesterday, I seen last night a little bit in regard to the China-U.S. situation, and kind of watch what occurred there. And just my observation is that we are both weakened tremendously at this juncture in the global situation. While we are, no question, the stronger of the two countries, and but we are weakened in regard to our non-unity. And I think it's apparent to anybody that tries to step back and look at the bigger picture of things that, we just can't seem to find any real resolve in regard to what our priorities are, what we do, and who does it. So that weakens us tremendously here in the U.S. I think unless we find some unity, and on the brighter side, we did see some unity in regard to Israel this week. We've seen, some senators and representatives from both sides of the aisle stand up and pledge, to Israel, which is very, very good, because as my comments have said before, I think Israel is in part of the situation that they're in because the Palestinians have seen a weakness in their home in Israel in regard to their Supreme Court and what Netanyahu wanted to do in regard to bringing more power into the political process instead of the legal process, and it caused great division there. And I think our enemies see that, and they seek that, and they use that in regard to maybe getting an upper hand for the short term on situations. And I fear that that's the situation when they look at the U.S. now, that we don't have to agree on everything, but we have to find positiveness in each other's ideas, and we have to support them and do what we can do. China is weakened because their economy is in the tank. These people are building cities, and their economy is so bad they're tearing these new cities down that have never had anybody living in them because their economy had got so overheated that nobody can afford the inflation, nobody can afford to live in them, so they're kind of destroying those. And we know what the economic situation is in this country, and it hopefully improving, but it depends on what facts you look at, and I guess it affects each one of your pocketbooks or our pocketbooks in regard to how we perceive that. So anyway, we need to get along better. And, the culture has not only happened, on the global level, but also in Washington, D.C. This week. It's come down to grudge matches in a Senate hearing, which I find hard to believe. I mean, the senator from Oklahoma that was ready in a hearing, to take on a union boss right there in the center is just, it's hard for me to imagine that. And then, I mean, it goes on and on, because Kevin McCarthy, our old speaker, apparently went past one of his adversaries this week and, give him a good elbow in the kidney as he walked past, and it almost, it is absurd, and and we just kind of put up with it, I guess. We just kind of say, well, that's the way things are, but they shouldn't be that way, and they can't really be that way, and we can't maintain that kind of a structure and keep our country progressive and free as we is. I mean, this idea of freedoms is extremely good, but freedoms of any kind have to have some boundaries. And I think we've taken the guardrails off of that. But the last point I want to make is that this culture has migrated itself from the, from the global stage to the Washington, D.C. stage, even to our great house in Jefferson City. The Speaker of the House has some ethics issues, and I know that the caucus met in numerous hours, 4 or 5 hours this week, discussing his plight, his financial plight, and his ethics, charges that are against him. And there has been rumblings, about his treatment of his staff, and not only his staff, which is one thing, but also the treatment of Capitol staff, in the past year or so, which is not how it should be either. So we will see as that plight goes forward. He has maintained his stature at this juncture as Speaker, but the House Ethics Committee is searching into, and we'll have a report, and it kind of depends on where that is. Of course, a lot of us will look at and realize that once those particular situations occur in normal times, they won't have the leadership ability to move forward. These aren't normal times, so we'll just see what occurs. Speaking about kindergartners.
That's what I thought you were describing there a little bit. So.
Jeannie, it's good to see you.
Thanks,
and thank you for coming in on short notice. We had a guest that couldn't make it here today, and I seen you yesterday, and my day yesterday was about as good as it comes. And what a great day we had on our grandparents' Thanksgiving there, and had a great meal, and just a great time watching what you do every day. And Jeannie, I want you to know that I came away there thinking about, first of all, I really, really, really appreciate you and your staff and your teachers and what you do each and every day. But I have to say that I come back in the bigger picture a little bit envious of you, because you get to work with these kids, and there is a certain positiveness, a great positiveness, that comes out of working and being able to shape these kids, to be good fighters in Congress.
Well, that's not our initial goal. We have to start working that in, I suppose.
So it's awesome to see them come in, and the confidence that these kids are latching onto, the structure, that they have. They all kind of file in, and all with their headgear on, their
Turkey hats.
Turkey hats. Absolutely fantastic, and we'll talk about the reasons for that. But you and the community are very, very important to them, and they both shine through yesterday very good, because not only you and your staff, but the grandparents are there, and you can see why I could be a little envious sometimes of working with that good of people through and through.
Yeah, we certainly are fortunate in many ways, as you kind of pointed out there, and not only our staff, but our community as well. So Spring Bluff is strong in tradition, and that is one of those, our kindergarten feast. And, we had to hold it in the gym because we have just outgrown, our spaces in the past. And we even talked about that afterwards yesterday. We're like, we don't know how we ever used to do this in the classrooms, and we would just cram everybody in there. But then we started moving it into the gym because it is a huge event for us. I mean, a pretty good size. We had about 120, including the kindergarten class. Yeah. that our kitchen staff cook far besides the normal lunch shifts.
Great.
So,
The
yeah.
food was excellent. I mean, I enjoyed every bit of it. But if I counted correctly, and my counting is subject, but somewhere around 27 kindergartners, is that wrong?
28. We have 28 this year.
Well,
You're close.
It wasn't too bad.
One might have ran off. You never know.
no. You might check the bathroom for a schlotic running around somewhere. I don't know. First of all, the first observation is that I don't know exactly how big your footprint is, you know what I'm saying, but it is not a huge district. You know, Spring Bluff is not
About 72 square miles.
72 square miles,
Yeah.
but that's a lot of kindergartners, you know what I'm saying, to come out of that, particular area. Where's your parameters again, basically run from the Spring Bluff district? From Sullivan?
Yeah, we touch Sullivan, Border Strain. We run out CC, Melody Lakes. That's about
Okay.
as far as we go that
Yep.
direction. So that kind of borders with Owensville.
Right.
I think one side of Melody Lakes is ours, the other side's Owensville. So it's kind of interesting how they do divide up districts. But yeah,
I mean, you have a kindergartner. No, preschool.
Pre-K, yeah.
I don't have any idea how many Owensville
I know
probably has.
she
Probably
has-
100. I don't know that, but
She's just the morning class. So she goes from 8 to 11, and there's 19 in her class. But there's other classes too. I think there's
Okay.
another teacher that does another pre-K class for morning. But I'm not sure how many they would have in the evening.
anyway, it's an impressive crew, you know, and is that a normal kind of a number for kindergarten for you?
for kindergarten, yes, upper 20s to low 30s is kind of what we've been running the past several years.
So that's
Quite a few.
it is for that area and that community, and I would say, I don't know, you said you had 120 total there,
Guests yesterday. Mm-hmm.
so that almost 100% participation from grandparents somewhere.
Oh,
you know?
absolutely,
You know,
absolutely. And that's one thing for our events, our concerts. We know our K2. I mean, everyone comes out.
Yeah.
So we do have to limit. It would be nice if, like our Veterans Day, we were able to host that, and all of our students participate during the day. That's when we host that. But we certainly can't do that for our, holiday concerts because we just don't have the seating.
Yeah.
And we do have great, like I said, family support, community support. So, and we still have people that come back that don't have a direct connection anymore, but they enjoy it, and they've stayed connected with the district that way.
They need a little bit of that go juice, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That the youngsters provide to us, and a little bit of that positive attitude that goes a long way. So let's just go through a typical kindergarten day. What they're exposed to, what they do, what would be a typical day in the life of Will, my my grandchild, when he shows up at Spring Bluff in the morning, I guess. Yes.
Yep.
What would be the process there for him?
When kids arrive at school, we have our initial morning meeting, and that's all in the gym. So everyone just
Everybody?
Everybody, yep. So if they're a drop-off or a bus rider, we all meet in the gym in the morning. And then about 7:20, I do morning announcements, and then we all together say the pledge. So that is something that we do as a whole school.
That's
every day.
awesome. So 7:20, and you do the Pledge of Allegiance, and you talk about what the events are of the day, right?
Events of the day or the week, what to look forward. We have We have after-school activities, so just kind of remind everyone what's going on, and special announcements. Do a fun fact, announce birthdays, those types of things. So if it's a student's birthday, then they get to come up, get a little treat, and be applauded, and
That's awesome.
yeah.
So what your staff, about how many total teacher, or how much total staff? I mean, when you're
Total
looking at
staff,
bus
we have
drivers,
about 34.
34. So that would include, all of the above, and teachers and the aides. Do you have aides there?
We do. We have 2.
Okay. So do they help through only the kindergarten, or did they help through the other years also?
They're all over the place. So
Okay.
wherever the need is where they go.
Okay.
So, one may be more of a focus on any student that has a special need, and the other one just kind of dives into classrooms where, a teacher's saying, hey, we can use some extra support here. So we try to make that work within the schedule. So very flexible, and that's one thing I think every educator needs to know going into it. Your schedule most likely will not look the same 2 days in a row, no matter what it says on paper. So,
You talked about special need. Is that a pretty low percentage, I'm assuming, of your total kid population to a big
it
degree?
is for us, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a low percentage.
But there are special needs there, you know what I'm saying, that I know need to be handled. There's no question. And take more mentoring and tutoring one-on-one, I'm assuming, and, disabilities come in a lot of different areas.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even if a student doesn't qualify for, special needs and those, because there are certain criteria to meet that, we know every kid learns differently. So trying to find, what works best for these students and providing that additional support is something that we're able to do, because we have small class sizes. And that's something the board has committed to for years. You mentioned we have 28 kindergartners. Well, that's 2 classrooms, 2 sizes of 14. So, and that's something our community has also supported. A lot of schools, and the cost of things, obviously, that's another staff member, that's more benefits, that's more expenses.
Cheap investment.
Yes. The return on our investment has been proven. So it's something the board will continue. Yeah.
Yeah, that there's no doubt about it. There are times to invest, and I'm not sure we need to invest a lot more in Harvard, but it's hard for me not to be somewhat political. You can't paint anything with a total broad brush anymore. You know what I'm saying? You do have to get down in the weeds to some degree. But so you have this morning meeting, and you talk about those particular events, what's going on there. Are the announcements community deep, in regard to other things going on in the community other than school,
Sometimes it
can
may.
be?
Yeah.
Okay.
We participated in the food drive here recently, so we talk about that and who that's connected to, and so make that a school-wide event. So trying to do some of those.
So you bring them in right on that onset, and you can talk about, the needs that are out there.
Yes.
And what place that you play into that. So I heard the bells ringing yesterday. They're not like the old bells that we used to have, you know what I'm saying? They're more like, I don't know.
It's quieter, softer. Softer. It's not the ones that make you jolt from your seat, that's for sure. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, from morning meeting then, and they're dismissed from the gym, they go down to their classroom and they get their day underway. So, for the most part, kindergarten's foundational skills. So they're starting the morning out typically with, I'm sure they do some calendar activities and posting on phonics. We do, like I said, depending on when we can offer that additional support in classrooms, we sometimes teachers have to shape their day, when they have that additional support that they need. So, lots of phonics work being done to help those beginning readers.
What's a typical phonics lesson or discipline, going through the vowels and those kind of things? And
introduction sounds, and as they progress through the year, then they'll learn to start blending those and, and start reading, by the end of kindergarten year. Some kids, depending on what they come into kindergarten with, may already be a little more advanced and working on some of those other skills. So, like I said, it's kindergarten is a challenge. Some people think, well, it's a pretty easy year, but it can be a challenge depending on what level those kids are coming in at, what experiences they've had. So you've got some that, you certainly want to leave them sitting here if they are already, a little bit ahead. And then others
so
might
you
be
kind of
brought up.
divide, well, not divide them, but, you ascertain what skill level they have, so you can, and with 14 in the classroom, you can bring extra attention, what
Sure.
I'm saying, to those in a way that's critical to them, but I'm sure they're not aware of it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm sure that you're helping. With me, with phonics, you'd have to work on my S's. No,
Yeah.
don't admit to that, That's, they do, like I seen the helmets yesterday, or the turkey feathers, headgear. I asked Will if he had anything to do with making these. He said, oh, yeah. So I said, what did you do? And he said, well, we made them, you know what I'm saying? And they were all perfect. I said, did you staple them? He said, yeah, I help with that. I don't know exactly what they do and do not do, but they were all perfect,
Yeah,
so they do
great.
cut and paste and those kind of things?
Oh, absolutely. That's huge kindergarten skill. So I remember my son, my youngest one, when he came home, fine motor skill, working on that. And again, all kids are coming in at different experiences, and some may or may not have ever held a pencil or a crayon. So, those are some things that we try to get out to parents early on, make sure, start putting those writing utensils, in kids' hands, different shapes, different sizes, let them have some experience with that, strengthen their grip, and scissors, monitor with scissors, but scissors, and they do need to be able to do that, so.
We have almost a preschool in our house.
Sure.
When they come in, and when the triplets are there a day or so a week, whatever, they happen to be there. They're 4 now. They just turned 4. Something almost automatic has occurred in them to a degree, because they go to preschool, and their coloring skills have absolutely went through the roof here. You know what I'm saying? Recently, they are, of course they paint grandpa, a picture or whatever, color a picture. It's amazing how quickly coloring inside those lines, and then the coordination of, I can tell so much difference between boys and girls on how they color. And the colors that, there's an inherent non-taste in a lot of boys regard to what to wear, or what to color with, but not so much the case with the girls. They kind of got it already, don't they?
They do.
So that's, so when do writing skills, start to come into the curriculum in regard to making their letters and those particular things? Is that kindergarten or not yet?
Absolutely. Yeah, kindergarten.
So writing their name?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. They'll be writing their name. They'll be writing short sentences also by the end of the year. So kindergarten's not what kindergarten was when we all were there. So
I didn't go, in case you tell.
Crash course.
I missed it,
I remember when we used to get to take naps and everything. I don't know if they still do that or not.
We start out, it just kind of depends on the class. So the teachers are great. They just kind of, some years you have a classroom of sleepers and some you don't. And try to get them weaned by first quarter, because obviously, we can't do that all year long. But one thing that always amazes me with kindergarten is no matter where they come in at, what level, beginning of the year, right after Christmas, you can really start seeing a change with all those kiddos. And it all comes together, yes. Just that exposure and having that, continuity, the consistency. So you really start to see some changes. And I know I had that conversation last year with a parent and concerns, and I'm like, just give it a little more time. It'll be fine. It will be fine.
Well, they sure walked in structured yesterday. And I'm talking almost military, distance between them, focused on what they're doing. Because I happened to be walking in, and Will went past. He didn't even look up at me. So I said, hey! Well, he just kept going, I mean, that's structure, and that's discipline. And they all stood there, what I'm saying, in a uniform line, and there was no getting down, laying on the floor, or anything like that. That was, how much of this is kind of crowd psychology, when you're teaching these kids? It's got to be a bonus to have all the other kids, the kids all doing the same thing, and for them to be able to see and know that they need to be doing what the other kid's doing. That's a big thing, ain't it?
It is, and and sometimes maybe some parents feel that maybe things are a little too tight, perhaps. But I tried to explain it as, having 1 or 2 kids at home, sure, there's different set of rules. To having 220 in a building, you're going to have different rules, and even larger schools. So, yes, do we walk in straight lines? We certainly do. K through 5, that's the goal. I mean, any given day, you can look down the hallway and there's not always a straight line, but
Yeah.
but the thought's there. Here's the expectation. And just I think basic respect.
Right.
When you're out in the community or anywhere, when you enter a room, you should be quiet. Not come in. Just like they knew yesterday, they had a little bit of a performance.
Right.
They were kind of setting their stage for it. So, trying to instill those things. And one thing, and I've been at Spring Bluff now. This is my 17th year, but I had been at a couple other districts beforehand. And I remember the first time I was in the cafeteria with kids coming through 17 years ago, and it's still the same thing today. It's please, thank you, or no,
Right.
thank you. Yes, gravy, no gravy.
Yeah.
Still today, I've been in the kitchen, somewhat helping out from time to time, and those kiddos of all ages still respond the same way. Now, they may not know their vegetables or their fruits, but
Or not eat them.
all they can say, no veggies.
Because I went through with Will was in front of me yesterday. I was filling his plate, and I said, "Yeah, turkey. I want more turkey." He said, "What I say? Want more turkey?" Went past potatoes. No potatoes. And I said, "No potatoes. No gravy. Yeah, put gravy on that. And then no vegetables. No green beans. No sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
I guess that was sweet potatoes. I let them go too. But then, 2 rolls of bread. You know what I'm saying, and milk and. That's where he was there. Oh, grapes, which I was pretty impressed with, because I know that he eats a lot of fruit there at home, but he picked out the grapes, you know what I'm saying? So, reasonably balanced, and then I got him lemonade to drink, and no, he wanted milk to drink, which was, that was good too,
That's good.
Uh,
And that's another big part of a kindergartner's day is lunch itself. And they do eat kind of a brunch. I mean, that's their normal lunchtime, what you came for.
Okay,
just to get the
11
shifts
o'clock
in.
or whatever.
But they're hungry by that time, and then
Yeah.
Of course.
most of them bring a snack for later on in the afternoon. But just being able to, if they bring their own lunch from home or some of the things are provided from the cafeteria, can they open their own milk carton? That's a learning
Yeah.
process. Can they, if they bring their Go-Gurt, can they get it
Opened,
opened?
yeah.
And so we have safety scissors there, and we do encourage they take care of that themselves, as much as they can. So it is a big part of their day.
Well, yeah, and it's a big part of all of our days, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's all, a lot of thought goes into eating. Okay, that's kind of a bigger picture, but the conformity, the unity, the structure, the discipline, totally on board 100%. What age, though, do we start not allowing, but teaching independent thinking? You know what I'm saying? And supporting, I'm thinking about, entrepreneurship and those kind of things. I know they're way too young at that juncture. But when does the education system start opening up, you know what I'm saying, to the kids, to their individual desires and needs? Is that a fair question?
It is, and I think that's going to look just a little different at every school and what resources are available to them. For us, being at K-8, and some of those things are a little limited. Probably more at the middle school level, though, we start trying to bring in, some of that, more of their interest in what's a little more individualized. Do they want to be in band? That's an
Right.
option for them. Choir. We have advanced art, as an option for another fine art if they're not interested in band or choir. Some kids just don't enjoy music, or their parents don't want them to bring
Well-
home that instrument.
Yeah.
And Ernie Mertz was there yesterday. I mean, Mr. Mertz, I'm sorry. But Mr. Mertz, he was my like second or third grade teacher. Well, I was older than that. Maybe 5th or 6th grade or whatever. But I have no ability to carry a tune, okay? So Mr. Mertz, was going through the scales. I don't even hardly know what that means. And he said, follow these, Charlie. Because, he knew where we were, and all the other kids in the family he knew, and they could all sing or whatever. Well, I couldn't. And he went through these scales in the classroom, and he said, follow me. Well, I couldn't. I couldn't follow those at all. So I knew for sure at that juncture that Taylor Swift wasn't going to be calling me.
Not going to be your backup.
But but those are the individual kind of situations that start disseminating individual desires and what you want to do. And I never really looked at it that way, but sports is the first off, or can be one of the first offshoots of doing things independently and what you want to do.
Yes. 4-H is probably another good option for students, at a younger age to kind of start, seeing what some other things might be of interest to them. A lot of our kids participate in dance. That's something that we don't, offer at school. Most schools don't, but locally they can participate that way. So, as far as middle school goes, we offer a STEM class, so those that are interested in more technology and
middle school, you do that?
we do. Yeah. So, just trying to provide, as much as we can. Yeah, some interest to them. And then, of course, in counseling, guidance class, that's something that our 8th graders certainly work on as a plan. What are some of their interests? They kind of talk about that and go through different career paths and try to plan ahead for high school. What are some options that they can dig a little deeper in?
Other than parents mentoring, is there any particular level that outside mentoring comes in for the kids to a degree, whether that would be, maybe in sports, what I'm saying? And I think you answered that, actually, because you said 4-H, what I'm saying, or FFA maybe, or I'm saying that. Those are opportunities, for them to work on their individual skills and find someone that wants to help them with that.
Right.
So,
As far as volunteers, sure. I mean, we open that up. As far as community volunteers, we have reached out in the past and try to establish some mentoring programs, for certain students that we think would benefit from that. So that's been successful in the past. One thing unique about us, and I guess probably a lot of smaller schools, is our sports program is really 100% ran by parents. Parents are coaches. We don't pay a coach. We do have an athletic director on staff that kind of manages that, because that's
who is your AD?
Brittany Block.
Okay.
And she does a great job. It's, we're getting ready to kick off basketball here, and that's a beast. It really is. But
she may have, and don't misunderstand me here, Ms. Jenkins, but she may have one of the toughest jobs there is. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I don't want it.
I mean, working with parents as coaches could be, that could be pretty devastating situation sometimes,
Well, you know what? We have a great club. We really do. And our parents do but you're right, there are times, because everybody, they're working full-time jobs. They're trying to figure out their practice schedule, and sometimes things change, and, games, you think you have games scheduled, and then something changes and whatnot. So, it's a constant communication between, all parties involved, and things are always changing. So, it's tough.
And just making sure that all parents are even-handed, you know what I'm saying, in regard to how, and don't misunderstand me, you probably got one of the best. We have aggregately one of the best areas, I think, in the state, in regard to, or anywhere, in regard to logical, methodical, parents that are, have a lot of sensibilities. That said, when it comes to kids and grandkids, sometimes, that can be overshadowed by other things. So anyway, I'm sure she's qualified, but Ms. Block got a tough job sometimes, I'm sure.
She does, and she's been out on maternity leave, and we're ready for her to come back. So Monday, she comes back on Monday.
So I know by Caden and celebrating the triplets' birthday, that basketball season, you know what I'm saying, is upon us. I don't, are upon the kids, so that's starting right now. Soccer over, pretty much?
I believe it is.
So you don't really get into the school, don't do soccer.
No.
But you do basketball.
Oh, yes.
Volleyball?
And volleyball. Basketball and volleyball, and then we partner with Sullivan for any kids that are interested in wrestling or cross country at the
Okay.
middle school level. So they have an option to join their teams and compete that way.
What age does volleyball start?
Fifth grade for us.
Fifth grade?
We typically have a fifth, sixth grade team, seventh, eighth. Just really depends on numbers each year.
So that's, that goes by, it gets there in a hurry, don't it? In sports and kids' activity.
It does. Volleyball is it's the calmer of the two sports. You don't hear too many people get excited in the stands over volleyball. And it's pretty calm. Basketball, it can be a little different story.
Okay.
You got boys and girls basketball?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so.
Yeah. So that it's fun. It's a long season. It really is. But the kids have a good time. I think coaches enjoy it. Everybody's worn out at the end, but it's a good time. We look forward to it.
Well, you look at the bigger picture there, and it's the time of the year where energy needs to be burned. I mean, it's the days are short. And while you're ready to get to March Madness, you know what I'm saying, to
Right.
get through, all of that, and there's not really a whole lot of other things going on. As far as outdoor activities or as far as other activities. Basketball kind of is in its own, I mean, there's hockey and those things, but not at this level, so.
Or local. You'd have to.
It's, it's a great thing. So when we were talking about, the kids process and, we have the morning meeting, we get them in the classroom, start the classroom day, look at the phonics, teaching those skills. Are math skills brought in, at that juncture? And what would be a typical math, situation? Counting, I guess? Or
Counting, I mean, they'll be doing some basic addition and subtraction, and preparing for first grade. Kindergarten, like I said, it kind of starts out a little slow and redundant. Some of the things that basic skills they should know coming in or review, but then, they become pretty solid students there at the end. They're ready for first grade, really. And first grade's another pretty big jump. It's a change from, kindergarten world, but, those kids go in, there's plenty of supports they handle. Just fine. But as far as kindergarten, besides just reading and math, I mean, we focus on all content areas. So, I mean, they're bringing in social studies, and kindergarten, of course, is focused on community. They just did a community trip. They do that typically in September every year. They go to, used to the post office, but now they go to the fire station. This year they went to the hospital, park.
Awesome.
Yep, so they get familiar with their community and the importance of it and resources of the community. And science, we integrate that as well. Sometimes it's hard for schools to find the time to fit all of those things in, but learning that, it's cross-curricular, I think back in the day the focus was reading, math, science, social studies, and now, the focus is not that. I mean, you can knock out a lot of standards and skills, cross-curricular, so that's really how we try to focus teaching.
How about computer skills? Are they exposed to computers or phones or whatever at kindergarten?
They have access to Chromebooks.
Okay.
We're 1-to-1, K through 8. This year we made a change. So, fortunately with COVID, we did not have Chromebooks down to kindergarten at that age. But of course that we were all forced to kind of make teaching or education accessible in some way. So we took Chromebooks down. Good experience. I mean, and those kids, they come in with the skills needed to maneuver their touchscreen. So that's how they can get away from needing the typing skills in kindergarten. So they access a Google Classroom, just like the big kids do, to retrieve any assignments, things like that. Since COVID, have we scaled back on some of that technology? We have. Trying to do a little more paper pencil, those types of things. As
I
much as
mean,
we
I
can.
say good. You know,
Well,
I don't know, Jeannie. Huh?
I miss the pen and papers. Like
I mean, I personally feel there needs to be a good balance. It's just like anything. I think, technology, phones, all of it. The intent was good behind it, and then of course, what do? We take it and ruin it.
Yes.
As a society,
Yes.
In an aspect, certain aspects of it. But we just changed our policy again, and just because of some misuse, and what I was noticing is that kids were not really using their devices at home for work.
Yeah.
It's games, it's
More.
and I'm like, you know what? We're not even taking these home anymore. So we don't need it. We're back to some paper pencil. If a study guide's needed, we'll print you a
Good.
copy. So we're, I had a teacher too say, you're probably going to hear from some parents on that. I think there was one that reached out to their classroom teacher, but I personally have not heard from anyone. So
That's
I
good.
think overall everyone's kind of not, happy to disconnect a little bit, because really I think that's what the purpose was at home. It turned into, because
Yes.
we just don't have that need like we did a few years ago. It became more of a gaming tool.
I know this morning, Weston, and Ellie was there. Weston came in and I don't know, he said he had a little headache, no fever, nothing, but he does have a little cough or whatever. And of course, Karen gives them a very minimal amount of time, you know what I'm saying, to use on the phone or do whatever. But Weston was kind of pouting when I come in. I said, "What's going on?" He said, "Grandma can't use Grandma's phone at all today." And I said, "How come?" He said, "Because Grandma said I have a headache," or he said, "I have a headache," and Grandma said, "You can't use the phone." Well, because
Yeah.
that's pretty typical. But man, I know that they get addicted to that
My daughter
very,
does.
very quickly, and that's concerning.
Yeah, she has a strict amount of time that's on technology.
So that's.
And I think that's fantastic. Like I
Yes.
said, there's a reason for it. There's purpose, absolutely. But
They're not even doing cursive, or are they doing cursive writing?
we instruct that in second grade.
Okay.
Thank goodness.
But as far as the continuation of it, I mean, it's a challenge. It really is. It's something that we did bring back for middle school last year, because those kiddos, how did that ever come about? I mean, I had a kid, asked him to sign his name. He's like, "I don't know how to sign my name." And this was a middle schooler. I said, "What do you mean you don't know how to sign your name?" And whatever happened, I'm not sure the circumstances, but anyway, that period of time in second grade was lost. I'm like, these kids have to minimum at least know how to sign their name. So
Like in cursive?
In cursive.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
I guess my concern, not my concern, but my observation, if you will, is that, a lot of kids try to get them to work in the concession stand as much as we can at school too, those that are there for those events, because what they see their parents doing is paying with a card. They have no idea of money
Yeah.
and how to make change, and it's just, well, here's
Oh,
my
I
card.
know.
Yeah.
And with that said, we just bought 2 terminals so we can take their cards, and
Yeah.
because that's what people want. They want
Yeah.
that convenience. And I get it, but that's a skill kids are not getting anymore because they just don't see their parents paying with cash.
I have limited amount of cursive skills. I'm not so legible. I can, but you just don't take the time for. Or I don't take the time for it necessarily. But I think it's tremendously important because there is nothing that I have ever did that makes my mind and body work together better than sitting down and writing. and sometimes that's not cursive, sometimes it, just printed or
Right.
whatever. But there's, something that makes me think things through when I'm putting them down on paper, that I'm fearful that if you don't have that. Now, I'm sure you can sit at a computer and do that same thing. I can't. I'm not that good of a typer. I just can't do that. But you understand what I'm saying? That
Absolutely. I mean, I
that
list all
creativeness,
the time.
Yep.
Yep.
That creativeness comes from that pen and paper and writing down. It's
And not
when I
just-
start that process, it's really enjoyable. To see what's in there.
Yeah. And not just going to Google for everything and,
Yes.
Well, I do that too.
Yes, you do.
Well, hey, we need to take a break. Wow, we need to take a break here on KTUI 1560 AM. Jeannie, where the bell's going to ring on?
I didn't even realize it was that.
I didn't either. So what else we got, Charlie?
This week, Sunday, November 19th, there's a community Thanksgiving Eve dinner. All are welcome. It's at the Presbyterian Church at 4th and Pine Street in Gerald. And then there is also a free community Thanksgiving dinner Thanksgiving Day at the First Baptist Church in Owensville from 11:30 to 1. So that way it's only dine-in, no carry-outs. But if you're alone or don't have anything to do, you can go out and get some food.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And then here at the White Mule this weekend, we have our steaks and Friday night from 5 to 8:30. Saturday is pizza, burgers, and wings all day, and then at 5 to 8:30 we add in our steaks again. And then Sunday is all you can eat fried chicken or roast beef from 11 to 3:30.
Very good. And next week we won't be here, correct?
Nope, that's correct.
And we wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy family time. It's happened to be my favorite holiday. I kind of like them all, but Thanksgiving is an awesome day, for family.
Yes.
And laying back and centered on family. Jeannie Jenkins, thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Appreciate you coming and being here today and.
Percent more reverb. 60% more real-life podcasts or perfect playlists. Seatbelts can't help you sound like this, but they can help you survive a crash. Buckle up every trip, every time. Simple actions save lives. Brought to you by Show Me Zero. Learn more at SaveMoLives.com. When you aren't driving, of course.
Live your best life at the Missouri Department of Mental Health. Opportunities to jumpstart your career in healthcare, food service, social work, administrative, and more. Life is full of choices. Your career is only one. No matter what you choose, make it meaningful. Find the career that fits you at Missouri Department of Mental Health. Apply today at mocareers.mo.gov/DMH for more meaningful work, increased pay, and great benefits.
When approaching slow-moving farm equipment driving along the road, are you unsure what to do? Can you pass, or do you stay behind it and wait? We have the answers. Make sure you are paying attention to the road. Keep your phone down and slow down. Be patient and only pass when it is really safe. That means when you are sure the road ahead is straight and clear, you have plenty of room, and there are no blind spots. Remember, simple actions save lives. This message brought to you